Hello and welcome to another episode of a Wicked Parley. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at and discussing the case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. You know, considering the fact that this case has been highly publicized, I feel that it's important to probably talk about certain aspects of the case rather than the whole thing. And of course, as we all know, the case came to a conclusion, about a little over a week ago. And obviously Johnny won. But there's some weird extra steps that had to do with that particular case that I think is important to kind of discuss. But before we get into all of that, my fellow co-host, Rose, might want to say a few things.
No, welcome back. We're finally back after like a month. That would be oy, because, some family emergencies happened, but we've got it mostly figured out. So thank you for your patience and thank you for joining us back so quickly. Really appreciate it, especially since it was last moment.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it was kind of ironic. We were on hiatus for like 2 weeks, and then we had to take an extension of, 3 weeks more?
Yeah, because I think, May had a couple of weekends. I don't want to count it right now, so.
Yeah, let's not go through that. But yeah.
Yeah, what a doozy to come back into, though.
Yeah, definitely. And hi, host. Good to see you jumping back.
Welcome back, welcome back.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, when it comes to this particular case, I'm sure most people in the chat have seen some element of the Johnny Depp case. I'd like to know, just in general, what you guys, the audience, think about this. So if you guys if you're watching live, then go ahead and let us know in the chat. If you're watching this in the future, go ahead and shoot us the comments. Tell us what you think about the case. Do you agree with what happened? Do you like what happened? Do you dislike? I mean, if you dislike, then I'd like to hear why. So yeah.
Yeah, because there are plenty to talk about. I mean, 6 weeks worth of trial.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat and potatoes to that thing.
So many.
And, Rose, what are your thoughts when it comes to this whole thing? Like, I mean, we're going to get into obviously a bunch of stuff, but just generally speaking, overall outcome. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Why?
For me, it's just kind of a good refresher and a publicized example of a women can be just as bad as men kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's just like, the whole, you shouldn't take something at face value unless you've got definitive proof, because the repercussions of such accusations are detrimental.
What? What? You mean I'm not supposed to believe every person without any sort of evidence or facts? Are you telling me that everybody who said that I should automatically believe all women is wrong? A woman is telling me this? That's baffling.
Oh, God, the amount of sarcasm just right then and there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Sure.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right.
Like there's...
Yeah, no, I want to know one thing, though, honestly. Do you agree with the fact that Johnny had to pay her like over $2 million? Do you think that's fair?
Because the thing is, it's like, I don't remember what was the actual charge for why he had to pay her $2 million.
The gist of it had to do with the fact that the lawyer said some things that would have been deemed as offensive or slanderous towards Amber. And because of the actions of the lawyer, Johnny had to pay Amber the amount for supposedly her own defamation. Even though Johnny's on trial for defamation, which it doesn't make any sense to me. That part I don't understand how.
Yeah,
that's
kind of funky, because they were discussing Johnny's defamation and if apparently being charged with defaming Amber. Granted, I am very much, just based on the clips I saw, I don't know how much defamation was on, I don't know how much defamation of Amber was because of Johnny or because of her. Well, like her own actions maybe kind of
Yeah, I mean, like there's plenty of particular clips that we'll pull up as we're getting into this that kind of showcase some of the crazy aspects of the trial. So
You
I'm
could say that.
yeah, I mean, like one of the first things I kind of want to get into a little bit is do we believe that the the situation for Johnny is actually like fair? Do we think that like, because Johnny, he set out to go, hey, I don't give that I mean, he doesn't care that much about the money situation. He cared more about making sure that the truth came out.
We've
And
got
that,
the clip of that.
yeah, there's a clip of that says it. And we can pull it up, for the audience
Right now? Or
in a second. But I mostly want to like ask you personally, and also the audience,
yeah.
if they think that given what happened in the trial, given the fact that Johnny technically won, was the truth of the situation fully explained to everybody, and everyone now believes him, or is there an air of doubt? Was he unsuccessful in some avenue when it comes to what he was trying to seek, which was the truth?
My answer to that is kind of a, if I had to put numbers to it, kind of a 80-20 success fail.
Okay, so you think that wasn't successful in some avenues?
In some avenues, because at least I, cannot, fathom the amount of the actions of a good majority of the population, because people will be very, very stubborn in their beliefs. And if that happens to even go against, even if the truth has been revealed with a multitude of evidence, some people just will not accept it.
Yeah, I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, Amber being confronted by Johnny's attorney with the whole donation thing, and being like,
goodness gracious.
Yeah, I mean, that part's ridiculous.
Started on that.
Yeah, that part's just freaking ridiculous. He's like, yeah, no,
I pledged the money.
I pledged it. I gave.
But you didn't donate it.
No, but
it's like, no, I pledged it.
I pledged it. It's like,
no,
it's not the same thing.
Which is funny, considering apparently in that same clip, it's brought up in an earlier, testimony that she said donate versus the current pledge.
I mean, like, because technically she did donate. She donated like 1.5 million or something like that
to one of the organizations.
Yeah, to one of
the research we did.
Yeah, and so in some ways,
is the sixth of the money.
Yeah, but I mean, that's still over $1 million.
Still over $1 million, but it's like still, it's like
yeah.
only a third of what she promised that organization.
Yeah. Okay, I see that host threw a little comment there. Want to go ahead and read it?
Host says, the times are rough and the wage is low. Leave her, John. Leave her. I dare say it's time for us to go. It's time for us to leave her. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I feel like Johnny did see something to that effect in 2016, and then it was followed through in 2017.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in 2018, you had a slanderous thing, but I mean, hey, these things definitely.
She brought it back.
yeah, she did. Okay, so let's go ahead and hear up exactly what he said, and then perhaps.
Yeah, it's a very long clip. It's a very long clip.
Oh yeah, we're gonna pause it every couple of seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure that if anyone's in the chat in the future or present, if you have anything to say, if you agree or disagree that he succeeded or failed, let us know.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna keep our background music, but we're gonna have it.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Here we go.
My goal is the truth. My goal is the truth. Because it killed me that people that I had spoken with, that I had met with over the years, who maybe were in a not such a great position and they needed advice, and I gave them the best advice I could. All I could think of was that those people would think that I was a fraud.
When it comes to this particular thing, I think there's one thing that's really important to notice. When he's talking, notice that he's kind of looking down, and he's also looking down to the left and right. This means that he's trying to recall specific elements of what he's finding troublesome. So, in some ways you could say, hey, maybe he's looking down at that like computer screen because he's maybe reading like a script.
Yeah.
I've heard other people say some other stuff too, where they say that maybe he's not being as honest because he's not able to look directly into people's eyes when he's talking about this. But people who are usually, you would say,
Trying to recall something.
well, whether they're thinking about it or not, but I mean more specifically than just even recollection, but the way in which someone who has experienced a trauma, they're more likely going to have a more reserved kind of appearance, tone, and way. And so the fact that he's showcasing all of these particular things in tandem with
Yeah.
the fact that he's showcasing certain body language cues that also show recall, it just goes to the depth of this guy is just truly just trying to present what he believes to be the truth and trying to share it with us in a pure way, not trying to bullshit. And I think that right there is very admirable and something that you don't see very often.
It's not something you can just straight up ignore. Like when we were, searching for specific clips from this particular video, I could put this thing on ×2 speed and it's still relatively slow. Like that's how much he pauses and is trying to recall things.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to be as accurate and be, I wouldn't say careful with his words, but speaking with purpose.
Yeah. It's like it's very different to Amber's testimony, which we also have.
Yeah, it's quite erratic in comparison.
But yeah, it's just like his goal, as he mentioned, was the truth, because the advice he's given to friends and family, he doesn't want them to, think he's a fraud, which I think, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, and especially if you're someone who prides yourself on having experienced these sorts of things and you care about these people whom came to you for advice, it makes sense that you would care about the image you have, because these people may have ongoing problems, and instead of being able to turn to you and you provide some sort of aid, they can no longer trust what you have to say. So I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, some people might say it's selfish, but who doesn't want to be believed in, especially by, friends and family?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very human thing.
All right. So, I probably could put this on 2 times speed and still have it be understandable.
You could, but let's move on to something else.
Lied to them.
Oh. You mean like another video, or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's put background up again.
I think that one of the things that's kind of important to kind of showcase is the difference between, Amber and Johnny when it comes to the presentation. When you hear about, when you see Johnny talk, there's a part of him that's saying something to the effect of, hey, this is the truth. He's taking his time to think about certain things. He's trying to, approach it in a situation the way he kind of remembers it and recalls it. And then you see Amber, and Amber's just like, what the hell? I see the Backseat has a comment if you want to.
Yeah, sure. Backseat states, do you guys think that this trial should have been public?
I do. I do think it should have been public. I mean, it was where it was located was because it could be public. I think that when you deal with something like false allegations of we'll call it grape, when it comes to false allegations of harm, domestic violence, things like that. A lot of people have an internal bias to automatically honor whatever the woman has to say. I mean, it's gone so far as we now have a movement, that is
tell me about it.
Built up around it, whether or not you want to look at the Me Too movement or you want to look at like certain statements that are said by various public individuals, like "believe all women," which we have a clip that will go into that and kind of showcase a little bit.
They can leave me alone, I can say that.
I think that these sorts of things would be necessary to have it be public in order to have it be believed. Because I think that if the court case came out and you said, oh, hey, Johnny, he won, but he also had to pay, there would be a level of doubt that could be shed. And the way social media operates, or just the media in general, whether it just be social media or not, they can paint a picture that looks very incriminating, that's based entirely off of lies, that can sow the seeds of doubt and ruin a particular person's ability to adequately defend themselves. And so by having the whole case public, you have the evidence on show. So if someone was to say something to the effect of, "Oh, Amber absolutely 100% experienced this," you could literally showcase the evidence that the trial had and have the same. You could look to the same kinds of conclusions that the jury had to come to in order to make their decision, and in that way, you have I would say, a fairly reliable defense continuously. And
As long as you're an actual, like, hardworking truth seeker.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy if you think about it, right? Like, Johnny had to spend millions of dollars to have the truth told because he's a man.
Bunch of money and over 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, this was not exactly easy on him or his family.
Mm-mm.
And yet we find it so easy for people to tarnish people's names without necessarily having the necessary evidence, and it's just something that we'll get into later. But yeah, that's my answer for you, Backseat. And I don't know, Rose, do you have a difference of opinion, or do you agree?
No, I kind of agree that it did need to be public because, like you mentioned with the media, it's so easy to edit things in such an incriminating way. But if you're willing to put in the work, the fact that it was publicized means that you can physically find the entirety of the video, and if you're willing to put in the time and effort, you can find the truth yourself.
Yeah.
And come to your own conclusions rather than relying on somebody else who can and will be biased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. And this wasn't, as I mentioned before, it's an important case, gets to the point that, as Camille put it in a later interview, so I'm taking this quote from her, domestic violence does not have a gender.
That's true.
Yeah, she said it in an after interview. It's another clip that I should have grabbed now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, yeah. So let's go into some of the aspects of this. I mean, like, one of the first things that we can definitely point to is the fact that this case is one of the bigger cases probably of the last 10, 15 years. It's high profile in the sense that you got two fairly famous people, one arguably much more famous than the other. But I mean, like, you could definitely say that it showcases the fact that some of the ideas that have been put forth by certain groups and various very prominent individuals, their ideology is on show for being wrong. Not just like lightly wrong, but heavily wrong. And it showcases the fact that there's a lot of assumptions that are put forth about the way in which men and women are supposedly supposed to interact that is completely based in utter nonsense and cannot truly be supported. And so I think that, like, having this kind of case, not only does it potentially break the mold a little bit for the mounting evidence and support that various people have had about things that are potentially wrong, or in my opinion, definitely wrong. But, like, we'll say potentially, because I don't want to be I don't want to be biased, or at least be as least biased as I can be. But it's something that we can all point to and go, hey, look, this happened, which means that maybe when it happens to somebody else who's maybe not a famous politician or a famous movie star or famous something, right? They're just an average Joe, that they can point to this particular case with Johnny and go, hey, this happened to this guy. Maybe you should take a look into the situation and really see, did it happen to me?
Mm-hmm. If it can happen to a bigwig, it can definitely happen to a normie.
Yeah, I mean, I think it potentially punctures a hole in the credibility of the defense of believe all women. And in that particular element, I think it's a good thing, because I don't think you should believe anybody. I think a person should be, approached based upon the evidence. If a person looks like they've done something wrong, then showcase the evidence that says they did something wrong and do the steps that are in accordance to what we have as laws. And if we don't have the laws, then write the laws that you want, but don't take it into your own hands to destroy someone's life because X, Y, and Z. Okay. When it comes to particular aspects of this, do you think that there were inherent biases bred into this particular case, the way it was presented by either side?
I mean, there could be. I'm not a lawyer myself. I don't think I want to be a lawyer
I
myself.
definitely don't want to be.
So it's like there could or could not be bias, but I have a feeling that in order to be a lawyer for these high profile cases, you kind of have to try and be as unbiased as possible, because if you are biased, it kind of showcases itself and will probably affect the outcome, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Because for me, how you, for me, how you present the info, how, calm and coordinated you can actually present it, leads a bit more to your case than if you're kind of hysterical about it.
mm-hmm.
At least that's me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're definitely right about that. I
What
definitely
about you?
agree with
What do
that.
you think?
I think there were bias. I mean, I look at the way in which, particularly Amber's attorney addressed many of the questions from all the people who were put forth onto the stand. She was very much, to me at the very least, it looked like she was trying to insinuate problems and create issues that she could focus on and draw attention away from the obvious insanity that her client was clearly doing. And I think that particular bias, I mean, obviously, you're hired to defend this person, you're going to do your best job. But when your own lawyer has to pause in the midst of defending you and go, you know what, hold on a second, I need a minute. It's like that's the moment where you're like, you know what? I guess that the towel has been thrown in. I'm done with this.
I remember that clip. I should have grabbed it. It was literally her getting objected so many times and then just straight up admitting, I'm trying. You do not want to hear your lawyer say that.
Yeah. I mean, here's the problem. I mean, like the whole case, I've heard people say this before, and I think I have to agree with them, that this case should have been called hearsay.
Like, no, that was straight up the theme song for this case.
Oh yeah, the theme song of this entire case is hearsay.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm,
Objection.
Mm-hmm. Objection, hearsay. Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Oh,
overruled.
It got said so many times. What was it said so many times they actually did that to their own freaking question?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think so.
Like, not gonna lie, as important and serious as this case should be, that made me die.
Yeah, I mean, this particular clip that we have lined up right here showcases just how crazy Amber's lawyer is when it comes to speaking to certain,
Oh, a muffin.
Yeah, there's the muffin incident. Go ahead and throw that up there. That's kind of interesting to talk about.
The question that was asked was because you brought muffins, you said, from your husband, right? You gave those to Miss Heard, correct?
May I clarify what occurred so that we can stop talking about the muffins? What happened was that I was...
Just that sentence alone.
Yeah.
She sounds so done. Mind you, look at the timestamp of 6:54. This entire questioning has gone on for minimum like 4 or 5 minutes, and they're still on about muffins.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is literally Amber's lawyer trying to insinuate, infer circumstances and situations that can try to incriminate or manipulate Johnny in some way that clearly isn't what happened. And yet that manipulating, that twisting of what happened exactly and creating that level of doubt potentially in the jury to influence the outcome, I think is something that we got to figure out a way to stop that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's got to be a way to present the evidence that doesn't have to be full-blown lies. And if it is a full-blown lie and you present it, there should be some sort of consequence. If you're a lawyer and you're lying to the jury to win your case, there should be a consequence for that particular thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel
I
like
think earlier in this clip, it was trying to get on the psychologist's case about attending a dinner with Johnny, for which he paid for,
I mean,
during their interview meeting.
Yeah, it's very normal. I mean, if you're a person who is going to be working with somebody who's kind of high profile, it's pretty common to sit down and have a dinner And if you're at dinner in a high-profile place, you're not exactly going to order yourself a Coke. You're probably going to have a wine or something like that. And so
unless you're a heathen.
well, I mean, or you're like me, who I don't drink. But like, I mean,
Fair.
but the point is that like it's pretty common, and it's not really out of place for that to necessarily be something that happens. And yet, the lawyer tries to characterize her as this like, manipulative and potentially unreliable person. And it's just it's really ridiculous.
Kind of almost sounding like, she wants to get rid of the testimony that goes against her client.
Yeah.
Which, is a thing that could potentially work if it was truthful. If, like, the lies or if the things you're trying to get against this person is truthful.
Yeah. Well, let's hear a little bit more of the clip.
Okay.
I was getting ready that morning. I frequently bring muffins to the office. My husband did happen to know that there was going to be a celebrity client coming in, because on the mornings that occurs, which often occurs, we have to actually clear the office and move the staff to the other office. So yes, on the one hand, he was aware of that. I was getting ready. I asked him to go to the bakery near our house and pick up the muffins for me because I was running late. He often has to do that because I often do run late. He brought the muffins back to the house. I brought them into the office. Ms. Hurd and I enjoyed the muffins together. I think I made a comment to her along the lines like, we can thank my husband, my husband got these for us today, meaning he purchased the muffins. We are now enjoying them because of him.
Pause. That right there, does that sound crazy to anybody? Like, honestly, does that sound like something that's like, oh my god, what an offensive thing?
How dare muffins?
I
Why
know,
not
right?
Cupcakes?
like, why is this? Why did a lawyer think that this was important in the defense of her client
Like,
to
the
talk
thing I
about
just did was
muffins?
Yeah, like the thing I just did was probably disrespectful, but I can't help it. That's just such a ridiculous reach to me.
It is.
And it goes on, and like, I'm not going to continue the clip from there, but the further the clip goes, the lawyer, I think Elaine, tries to get on her actual testimony about where she states that she, often has high-profile clients to prove that this isn't the norm. And I'm like, oh, Lord Almighty, they're still in the muffins, even though she really wants to get away from the muffins.
Hey, host, just so you know, the Muffin Man on Drury Lane is not the same Muffin Man that knows Johnny.
Different Muffin Man, different Muffin Man.
Technically, it wasn't Johnny.
But, like, it kind of just showcases, how far somebody is willing to reach to try and prove their point, especially with how far they're trying to reach. It just kind of showcases how little there actually is to work with on their end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, anyone who's watched this entire thing, or at least a good chunk of it, can clearly see that on one side you have recorded facts, actual arguments, things like that, which I think we got some footage for.
We do have some.
Yeah, let's throw that up real quick.
Let me go ahead.
This
one, right?
Yeah, that one. There's actual like evidence that showcases, hey, this is something that happened, right? And then we literally go, okay, what are we talking about again? Oh, is that right? It's muffins? Like, this is the thing that you have defense for? We have audio recording evidence that showcases, hey, you did something wrong. Your own client is heard admitting to the wrong deed, and yet your defense is based off of what? Fucking muffins? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's like that's one of the arguments they try. Just one of the many ridiculous ones, in my opinion. But whatever.
Yeah, good for Johnny for recording, by the way. Just like, and that's also something that for anybody out there who's in a potentially,
Oh, I was trying to remain as unbiased as possible, but the amount of ridiculousness in this trial just makes it hard.
It does. I mean, like, if anyone out there who's in a relationship, whether you be, man or woman, whatever, or anything else, just make sure that if things start getting crazy, record the situation at the very least, right? At least record. And my God, host, yeah, that's
All right.
good job. You almost got me.
Like, if there is a hint of believability in Amber Heard's case, if there was actual truth, I would have loved to believe it. But the way it's all presented just makes it such a joke, which is unfortunate. Had it been true.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and play at least a little bit of this, because I think there's some pretty important things that I want to talk about.
This first one is only like the first 10 seconds.
I'm sorry that I didn't
You
hit
punched
you
me.
across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
At this
I'm gonna say this one thing. I don't think the word was bitch that she was trying to say. I think she was trying to say babe.
I have no idea. I mean, she cut herself off, so the
Yeah.
person, doing the captions,
Yeah.
their best.
I think the person's. I think I'm reasonably comfortably sure that what they were trying to say, what they were trying to say was babe. But still, the fact of the matter is that she hit him. It wasn't a punch because it wasn't a slap across the face. She didn't.
It
hear
wasn't a closed fist to the face, apparently.
Yeah, but at the same time, did you not put hands on another person in a violent way? Like an aggressive, violent way?
Like, I don't care that it wasn't a punch. You still hit the dude.
Yeah, an assault occurred. Like, it occurred.
Yeah. It wasn't a playful, like, hit to the cheek that, trying to patronize the dude or some sort of role play in the bedroom that I don't want to know about. You were trying to hurt him. Doesn't matter that it wasn't a punch. You were trying to hurt him.
Yeah.
Malintent. No. Not accepting that.
Yeah. I think we got a couple more clips here too, right?
Yeah, we do. There's like 2 more here.
All right, let's go ahead and run
This
through
is the
them.
second one.
Am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a baby.
Because you start.
You are such a baby. Grow the up,
Because you start
Johnny.
physical fights.
I did start a physical
Yeah,
fight.
you did. So I had
Because
to out of there.
yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You are admirable.
So I just want to say, like, there's a couple things about this that kind of stand out. All right. The first thing is that she's talking like she's a fucking child. All right. She's talking as if she's like this, like, barely a teenager. I have no consequences, whatever. Right. She's in her 30s, people. Like, I mean, like, that is not the tone of voice that you use as an adult. All right. And I know at the time of the recording, maybe she was like in her late 20s. Still. Like, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And then the other thing I think that's kind of interesting to kind of point out is the fact that, he is trying to get away and she is coming after him. There was a section, and I'm not sure if we got to it or not, where he literally was on the floor in a bathroom behind a locked door to be away from her, and she kept on trying to attack him. Does that sound like something that anyone has ever heard of before?
Not any sane person.
Well,
Trying to do.
I have heard stories from a lot of, we'll say, people that I know, say that they've experienced things very similar to this particular thing,
Nope,
and
nope.
yet it doesn't go reported. And so, my question is that if this happened to you, would you contact anyone or tell anyone about this, or would you just try to tough it out?
I'd feel threatened enough to, get some help.
Did you call the authorities?
I think so. Like, well, I want to get away. I want to try and de-escalate. The other person's trying to continue escalating. If I have to hide in my own bedroom or bathroom, that's a kind of an issue.
Yeah, I agree. That's a huge issue.
Like, I'd rather not be afraid in my own home,
Yeah, I mean, like, who would? I mean, like,
That's your home.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to be afraid.
no.
If you are afraid, you need to go, whether that means kick the other person out of your if that's available option, or move and get away from this person that's making your home, your supposed safe space, not a safe space.
Couldn't agree more.
Like, get me out of that. My arms are all wavy because of crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and play the last of this particular clip here.
Okay, let's down the music again.
Or Johnny.
Things get physical. We have to separate. We have.
That pisses me off.
Yeah. I mean, if you are getting physically violent with somebody and you're not letting them leave, what the hell is wrong with you?
it's not even a, like, that one incident just kind of to me shows how apparently toxic the entire relationship is. Because if you're in a relationship, that's a bad sentence to start off with. Anyway, if you're in a relationship, you shouldn't have to solve arguments or anything like that through physical means. If it gets to that point, that's a red flag to me.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I don't think physical situations should really happen at all. And when a person that that you love and that's supposed to trust and everything like that, and they come at you physically, I think that that's right there is the beginning of the end of any sort of real relationship, because you cannot be expected to trust this person when there are moments where they're willing to attack you. It's not something that I think is fair.
Like, if you have to resort to violence to solve a thing, that's not healthy.
No.
On either case.
No, it's not. I want to ask you, what do you think about the whole the Me Too element, the believe all women statements, and we'll say, it's been incorporated into a lot of popular sayings. I know we have a couple of clips from The View actually that kind of like discusses that as well as another particular thing. So first of all, Amber got in this situation because we were told to believe all women. And, obviously through the events of this particular case, it's very clear that she was lying. So do you think that's fair?
Another thing to point out, wasn't it also reported that she straight up told Johnny that nobody would believe him because he's a man?
Yes, that's exactly. There's a recording of her saying that to him.
Ugh, how gross.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's my thought on the whole Me Too movement and the believe all women?
Yeah, I mean, do you think that like it's something that should be automatically accepted, or?
No. Like,
why?
Because as much as I'd like to believe in people, there are going to be those who take advantage of that to their own, personal gain, and not
in what way?
for the...
Be a little more specific.
I remember seeing this clip. It was even just a thumbnail, but it was like I saw this thumbnail several times over, which means that, it's a popular story. It was about this woman. No, first off, it was about a man who was taking a walk in the park with her kid.
Mm-hmm.
A woman all of a sudden, runs up, grabs the kid's hand from the dad,
mm-hmm.
and screams that he's the one kidnapping her child.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people that apparently dogpiled that man was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So it's just like, you can absolutely have people like that. Yeah, you're gonna get some people who would actually, put these motives to good use to, actually help domestic violence victims. But there are also going to be people who essentially abuse this system for their own gain, or just because they want to hurt somebody else.
Do you think that domestic violence as an issue has been set back because of the case?
For me personally, no. It just means that when there's, a domestic violence issue, you have to investigate it. There's no don't believe them 100%. As somebody in The View points out in the video we've got, you can absolutely hear a person out, but this is a serious, accusation.
Mm-hmm.
It is detrimental, even if it's just a rumor.
I mean, like in the case of Johnny, he lost movie roles, he lost face. People,
we're never going to see the Captain Jack Sparrow again.
Well, unless Disney decides to give him like a bajillion animals and like a ridiculous amount of money.
Bajillion llamas.
Yeah, unless they decide just to kind of go, all right, the fans are willing to, pay this amount. I guess it's time to release the animals. But
that's assuming, it's a big assumption because he's made it adamant that he doesn't want to,
Yeah.
at least in some clips. So it's like, this is, detrimental on a big scale, but it's also detrimental, if you're just a normal man, or,
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and hear what The View had to say. I know this is kind of
Yeah.
crazy to say. I mean, not exactly the thing I would normally bring up.
Yeah, fair. Like, what do you think about the whole setback on domestic violence? The question you asked me. Do you think it's a setback?
I don't.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I don't, because of a completely different reason, though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I just don't think the people whom espouse that particular viewpoint care about the truth.
Oh.
I mean, like,
Interesting.
especially if you think about, like, what we're about to watch, right? I mean, I want
Okay.
everyone who's watching this to think about this before we watch it, but I want you to think about the way in which the person who defends Believe All Women approaches the question.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to think, do you think this person is going to do that for anybody? Because I would. Oh, here's my tendency. My tendency is that if women who do not have children, or women who only have girls as children, are more likely to believe all women rather than protect their sons. And so, like, what I find interesting is that when you have this kind of discussion, more often than not, it's a discussion not about the merits of what the person has brought forth as evidence, but where was this dude at? They begin their attack on the guy, and rarely if ever address the woman's side of the issue. So, anyways, let's go ahead and play the clip.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pauses here because I didn't get the exact timestamps, because it's just all kind of a mess on this entire video.
It's The View, people. It's a mess.
All the women. That was the question I posed before.
I like to believe all the women.
You'd like to, but
I
do you have to?
I think we should.
Do you feel that there's some kind of pressure that if we say, like Mika Brzezinski says, well, I'm not so sure about this one, that women will turn on you?
Look, I
so you're scared
prosecuted
to say it?
child sex crimes, crimes against women.
Hold
It's
on.
a very difficult.
So, like, all right, this particular person, right, is talking about how, like, she prosecuted, like, sex crimes and then crimes against women, right?
Yeah.
And that's why she has this, like, strong case. But that's not what was asked.
Yeah. I think she also, just the two first responses too are kind of strange to me, because she asked, her first response was, she would like to believe all women,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next one was, do we have to? And then she answered, we should. But that's kind of contradicting her first statement, to me at least.
Well, I mean, I think it's because she's on TV and that she probably can't be as she has to appear somewhat unbiased, and so by taking a double stance on something, she can lean heavily into the thing that she believes while also going, hey, well, I did say this at the very least.
Ah.
And I think it's just kind of like a tactic of saving face. But I mean,
I'm not gonna lie, not a good fan of that.
yeah, I'm not a fan either. But like my whole point primarily is the fact that rather than being like yes and this is why, instead she goes the saving face, and then supports the saving face discussion with things that have nearly nothing to do. It's not that they're not atrocious crimes, and they're not crimes that women don't experience, but they don't have to do directly with the actual issue. And you cannot go, I believe this particular issue happens, and then try to connect the issues that you're showcasing with the question and say they're the same thing. Because that is something that a lot of people do that deflects the actual question. So, all right, we can continue.
Okay.
Difficult process to go through when you accuse someone of something, and I think that we need to stand behind women. The reason that rapes and sexual harassment are the least reported crimes in our country is because women are afraid that they will not be believed and that they will be shamed, and we need to change that.
Pause it.
Ow, that applause is hurt.
Yeah. So honestly, when it comes down to that particular thing, I've heard people, not want to talk about grape. All right, I'm gonna say it like that. All right.
Okay.
I understand that, and I think that there is legitimacy to some elements of that, and I definitely think that some people are not willing to discuss that because, their families might have a bad outlook. They might bring up, unpleasant memories and thoughts that they don't want to bring up, and because if they make something public, especially in today's age, it's forever.
Yeah.
So coming out and talking about it is something that I genuinely think that there are a lot of people who would not want to do. But that being said, that's true of probably just about anybody and everything in regards to anything that's bad or even good. People are not going to want to necessarily become public. There are plenty of people I know who do not want to ever talk on the show, do not want to show their face, that absolutely 100% are people that I've approached being like, hey, would you be interested in an interview? And they've just said, like, I don't really feel comfortable doing that. And if you take it in that kind of context and then you expand it out to something that's even more sensitive issue, it totally makes sense for them to be avoidant. But once again, does that have to do with the question?
No.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like, that's my perspective on it.
It's just like, just answer the gosh darn question. This is like, it could be a reason. It could be a reason, but like, that's not the actual question.
Yeah. All right, there's one more thing I kind of want to show
Okay.
that I want to discuss that has to do with the other clip that we have about the Believe All Women, and I want to like end it on a question for the audience.
This one?
Yeah, and here's my question. I want you guys to watch this, and here's the question, all right? And I want you to answer it in the comment section below or email the show. And we can be reached via email at awickedparley@gmail.com. My question is simply this. Do you believe that it is offensive to pose the question, believe all women? And is it wrong to do so in a ridiculous nature, as the person in this particular video does?
All right, now that the question is also in the chat for later viewing, let's get to the ridiculousness. Shush, cappuccino.
I mean, even...
I'm sorry?
He's a rapist.
Oh. What proof do you have for that?
I mean, the 22 women who came forward, I believe women.
So no proof, though, but you still believe them?
Yes.
What if I accused him of raping me right now? Would you believe me?
I mean, if you had a good story.
He just raped me. Do you believe me?
That's disrespectful to rape victims.
I think it's disrespectful to believe them when there's no proof, and it's disrespectful towards the man. It's disrespectful towards Trump and Kavanaugh, wasn't it? When there was no proof.
I think...
There's a little bit more, but timing.
Yeah. That more or less that statement gets repeated more than once.
Yep.
And so I want to know if you guys believe that that's offensive in nature. Now, I want this to be said. I fucking hate Trump, and that was a question against the allegations against Trump for potential rape situations. But I want it to also be stated and said that I very much believe that you should be able to ask questions. You should be able to find knowledge, and people who subvert the truth, people whom don't allow you to pose questions, those people are in the wrong and are having what I would consider dark age thinking. And host, yeah, it's definitely like the Salem witch trials. Thank God that Johnny won. I'm happy that he won, and I'm happy that for his witch hunt is over. Until next time, guys, I hope you have a great and fantastic rest of your night, and if you guys watch in the future, I hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Good night, everybody.